Hello friends and comrades. I was just randomly watching YouTube, came across this video by David Pakman, or by the David Pakman Show. It's a liberal program that I occasionally watch, just to get news and stuff like that, see what's happening in the world. But because he is a liberal, he's oftentimes quite infuriating. So let's take a quick look at this video. We'll watch at least part of it because it to me aptly demonstrates the absurdity of liberalism. Basically what's happened is, as the title says, liberal journalists attack David for interviewing alt-right white nationalist. So people were complaining that he interviewed this alt-right Nazi guy, thus giving him attention and giving him a platform to speak. So this is what he has to say about that.
I also just disagree with the fact that you're giving him a platform. If you enabled him to speak for maybe half an hour unchallenged, I could see that being giving him a platform, but you're challenging him the whole way.
Yeah, and again, challenging. Some people could...
Clearly that's dumb, though. Like, you can't deny the fact that you're giving him a platform. Even if you do challenge him, of course you're giving him a platform. You're giving him more attention, more exposure, all that. You can't deny that. That's ridiculous.
Fairly say, David, you didn't challenge him loudly enough because you weren't screaming at every single thing he said. If I do that, we won't even really have an interview. It will not really be a conversation where we could learn anything.
Fine, whatever, but you can't deny that you're giving him a platform.
Unfortunately, a few progressive, liberal media people really didn't like the fact that I did this interview. At @dpackman, my Twitter handle, it's so great you're giving Nazis a platform and treating their ideology as just differing political views. Totally what we need right now.
Yeah, I mean, that was spot on, to be honest. Absolutely spot on.
Triggered another significant back and forth that lasted many, many hours. Again, my view is you can't really debate such insane ideas. The point is,
What do you mean? Like, at first you said that you want to have a conversation, that if you're just shouting then you can't debate them. Now you're saying you can't debate them. Like, which is it?
Figure out where it comes from and expose that this is a non-insignificant part, in the case of alt-right beliefs, this is a not insignificant part of Donald Trump being president of the Union.
Alright, here is the difference, really, to put in very concrete terms. You want to, I don't know, debunk Nazism or something, but on the one hand you still say that Nazis are just crazy people who cannot be reasoned with. That makes no sense. You oppose any kind of physical violence, physical suppression, censorship, or anything like that to be used against Nazis. You don't want anybody to actually do anything to prevent Nazis from being Nazis. You just want to talk with them, you want to hear what they have to say, you want to provide them with a forum, with a platform to spread their views, even though you seem to think you can't even reason with them. That makes very little sense to me.
United States. Where do we draw the line if the policy is...
No, it gets so much worse. Oh my god.
You don't interview people whose views are really vile. What about a guest that's anti-gay?
Where do we draw the line? Well, I don't know, but, maybe Nazis? Fucking Nazis? Are you kidding me?
Or be given the opportunity to appear on a program? Do you only interview people you agree with? What about far-left people who I might share ideological perspectives in terms...
Yeah, great. Like, you're the fucking guy who has Nazis on his program, yet you equate quote-unquote far-left people with Nazis. You're like, if we don't allow fucking Nazis on the program, then maybe we shouldn't allow anybody left from the liberals either. Like, fuck you, David Pakman. This is absurd. This is so absurd.
In terms of policy issues, but who believe that violence is justifiable for political gain.
Yeah, right, because apparently if you believe in the use of violence, you're automatically as bad as a Nazi. Nazis are people who use violence against the poorest of the poor, against disabled people, ethnic minorities, against the innocent, the weak. They hate everything that's good. They hate democracy, they hate equality, they hate fairness, and they use violence to achieve those aims. Whereas people on the left end of the spectrum, you know, take the most extreme examples, like the Red Army faction or something, or the Naxalites, whatever, Antifa. They beat up Nazis, they, I don't know, kill rich people who live in utter opulence by making everybody else starve and be miserable and die in poverty. You can't equate the two. Like all they have in common is the method. They both use violence. How far does your pacifism go, David Pacman? Like, would you yourself say that Nazis cannot be reasoned with? Okay then, if you can't reason with them, what do you do with them? Did the Soviets reason with Hitler? Or did they destroy his army and make him so sad he shot himself? Some liberals tried to appease Hitler, some liberals tried to reason with Hitler. Liberals want to be polite with Nazis, they want to provide Nazis with a platform, they want to hear them out. Liberals will loudly condemn anybody who's actually carrying out real anti-fascist action. But yet they will equate real anti-fascists with being as bad as Nazis because they use violence.
The normalizing thing relies entirely on the idea that the audience is going to be tricked into all of a sudden thinking white nationalism is a really good thing.
Liberals, they claim to defend freedom of speech and freedom of expression and all that, even though they are usually in favor of hate speech laws and all kinds of other things which clearly limit freedom of expression. I mean, I don't oppose that. I think hate speech laws are fine, but clearly they limit a person's ability to be hateful. Now, for some reason, though, liberals claim that they want to allow people to be hateful. They want, like, people to be able to express horrible, hateful, reactionary, harmful views. They justify this by saying that that it's going to be obvious to everyone that Nazism is bad, that white nationalism is bad, and all that. So therefore, by even when you provide exposure, people will just see that they're bad and won't be affected by their message. What do you base that on? Like, Hitler achieved a significant amount of popularity by lying to people, by appealing to the worst aspects of humanity. Donald Trump has done the same thing. People don't have a truth sensor. There's no truth organ or truth part of the brain that people will just as easily believe lies as they will believe accurate facts. Sometimes a really simple lie is a lot easier for people to accept than a complicated, nuanced reality. No, the white supremacists, they blame all the problems on the immigrants. That is a simple thing. It's really dumb. It doesn't make any sense, but it's they got some anecdotal things they can point to, like, oh, look at that one immigrant who was a criminal. Some people will believe them. Like, I've often said that Marxism, for example, Marxism is a very complicated ideology. It's a lot more complicated than Nazism, for example. Nazism is really dumb. It's really, like, dumbed down. Nazism doesn't stand up to any kind of scrutiny in terms of its theory, in terms of its economics, like, none of it. It's just gibberish. It's just nonsense. Whereas Marxism is a scientific worldview and a materialist worldview, instead of being a utopian or an idealist one. But as a result, like probably an inevitable result, it's a lot more difficult and complicated. Same with ultra-leftism. Like, anarchism is pretty simplistic. It's just like political power corrupts people, and if you get rid of political power, which you can just do, you know, apparently, you can just get rid of political power just like that, according to the anarchists, then that'll fix everything, and the state is the root of all evil. that is a lot easier for some people to accept than, you know, if we start talking about like complicated economic things or something, or like the withering away of the state or something like that. So anyway, my point being, you can't just assume that people will automatically realize that white supremacy is bad because of some like inherent sense. Like this entire liberal idea of the marketplace of ideas and stuff like that, it's false. People won't inherently know if something is bullshit or not. Americans should know this. Like, tons of people support Trump, tons of people are religious fundamentalists. And why? Because they've been brainwashed by propaganda. Americans know almost nothing about communism, yet they hate communism. Why is that? Because of propaganda. What you're saying is that if you allow Nazis to spread their propaganda, that people won't be impacted by it. But that's baseless. That's entirely baseless.
In the parks after dark by candlelight, getting spied on by